Hey guys, Willie here. Thank you for clicking on today's video. And today I get a lot of questions on stream, and specifically there seems to be a lot of anxiety on stream about how to itemize on Tiger Udyr, okay? When you play Phoenix Udyr, it's very easy. Phoenix Udyr being R-Max Udyr, W-Max, where you essentially build the tanky Liandry's play style. It's very easy to know what to do. You essentially just build Liandry's, get a couple tank items, build a Rift Maker, and you're good to go. As Tiger Udyr or Q-Max with E-Max second, it's a little bit trickier. And so today I thought the best way we could do this is we can quickly go through all these items. This is going to be kind of like a tier graph video. I'm essentially only going to go through the AD items. So we're not, ignore some of these items like Banshee's Veil and Abyssal Mask. We're not going to go through these. But my goal is to essentially go through these very quickly with you, explain why they're good, why they're bad. And then at the back end of this video, so that this is going to be the first part, is quickly just breaking down which items are good and bad. And then on the back end of the video, we're going to quickly discuss which champions you want to item. So for instance, into like movement speed champs, I usually go Stridebreaker Deadmans, and we're going to talk about which champions to do that into. We'll talk about the type of champs you rush Eclipse into, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in here.
Dang. Call me so I can make it juicy for you.
By the way, the 5 categories we're doing. S tier core just means you're going to build this pretty much every game you can somewhere in the build. Strong flex means you should strongly consider it. It does not mean build every game, but it is something that you should heavily consider in your builds. Game reliant is exactly what it means. Bad idea means you should not usually be building this item unless there's a really specific reason to be building it. Don't build means please do not build this item. It is not good. All right, let's start going down these one by one. Let's start with Black Cleaver because this recently got buffed. I'm going to put Black Cleaver into game reliant category. Even with the recent buffs, it does not mean Black Cleaver is great. This is a stat stick item. And no matter what, if you guys don't know, you need an armor pin item somewhere in your Udyr build. In my opinion, the last Whisper items are just outperforming Black Cleaver right now. However, if your entire team is full attack damage, Black Cleaver is really good because you can shred the armor off of the whatever target you're attacking, and then your teammates can build Last Whisper, and it stacks together so they just start instantly deleting enemy champions. That is why I'm going to put it in the game reliant category. Otherwise, I would actually put Black Cleaver in a bad idea category. Let's take a look at Bloodthirster. I'm actually going to put Bloodthirster in the game reliant category. It is extremely good. If you guys don't know, Udyr's Q damage scales off every 100 attack damage. You're going to see a theme here, which is raw attack damage items are really good on Tiger Udyr. If you're going like the cockroach, like lifesteal build, Bloodthirster is incredible, and it's one of the highest, if not the highest, attack damage items in the game. I think Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster, even in 2024, are the highest attack damage items in the game. Kimpek Chainsword, this is a don't build item for me, no matter what. If you need anti-heal, please go Mortal Reminder right now. It is so much better than pretty much everything else. I said we weren't going to touch on tank items, but I'm going to go ahead and give an honorable shout out to Deadmans. Deadmans, I look at it, it's both an offensive and a defensive item because it's not a true tank item. It's not a Frozen Heart, it's not a Randuin's, it's a movement speed item, and it's very expensive. It's a 2,900 movement speed item, whereas Frozen Heart, for instance, is 2,500 gold, right? We're going to go ahead and put Deadmans on this tier list because even on Tiger, Deadmans is considered core. I build this, I mean, unless the enemy team absolutely has no CC or any slows, this is pretty much in every single build for me. I'm going to put Death Dance actually in strong flex. Death Dance recently got a buff. It gives 50 armor now, which is actually more than Deadmans. So Death Dance is incredibly strong, specifically against full AD teams that have a lot of burst. So think of Kiana, Talon, Zed, stuff like this, champions that want to kill you very quickly. Death Stance completely gives you 50 armor, which shuts down any lethality they build, and it completely, negates any burst damage, especially on Tiger Udyr. Incredibly good item. I'm going to go ahead and put Eclipse as S tier right now until we see an Eclipse nerf. The reason why Eclipse is S tier, it's not because it's a broken item, it's because it costs 2,800 gold. 2,800 gold for 70 attack damage, a really good shield, one of the best dueling items in the game. If you build Eclipse and somebody else builds Stridebreaker, you will outduel the 3,300 Stridebreaker, okay? Eclipse is really good. Now, you're not going to build it, and we'll get into this in the back half of the video. It is not a build first every single game. It is not a build every game. However, I am going to put it in the S tier. If it needs to be in the build, it is considered please build it. Like if you're against Dueling champions, Lee Sin, stuff like this, it is considered core at the moment. Essence Reaver is a bad idea. I've played a few games with it, never a fan. I really think that it is just never worth building on our champion. I'm going to go ahead and put Experimental Hexplate in S tier core right now. I think everybody is sleeping on this item. I am seeing Grandmasters Udyr players start to pick this up when they go Tiger Udyr. I think people are starting to figure out it is just inherently a broken item. I made a video called Ultimate Haste AD Udyr. If you want to know why it's broken on Udyr, I explain it. But it's really bugged right now. I've since learned it's just bugged. It will go off 30 seconds every 30 seconds whether or not your awakening is up. And it's a tempo item. I explained this. This is not a dueling item. It's a tempo item. It helps you get around the map faster. It helps you have lightning Qs quickly. In late game team fights, your lightning Qs are on 10-second cooldowns. And if you're auto-attacking people, it's a 5-second cooldown. So you get 3 lightning Qs off at the end of the game. It is so good for team fighting. It is just, I cannot stress enough, if you are not building this item, please start putting this item in your builds. It will change how your champion plays on Tiger Udyr. I think Edge of Night is personally a bad idea. I've tested this item. There's just better options on Udyr. It's not necessarily a terrible idea. It's just a bad idea. Sure, by all means, you can flex it. I'm putting Gwynsu's Rageblade into a game-reliant category. No, this is not a good item on Udyr. No, on-hit damage is not as good as raw attack damage right now. However, if you are against a ton of melee tanks, we're talking Volibear jungle, Ornn top, Galio mid, Alistar support with a Gen ADC or something like that. If you go Gwynsu's Rageblade with Terminus, which we'll get into here in a second, on-hit Udyr very much can still shred tanks much faster than raw attack damage Udyr can. I would actually recommend picking this item up in a very specific game reliant. It is good into a lot of melees, but that's about it. It's not a bad item, but it's only good into melees. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at it. Heartsteel, I'm actually going to put on strong flex on Tiger Udyr. I've played a few games with this item. If you want to do like a Titanic Hydra, like a Bruiser build, your W scales insanely well with HP. If you want to do like the Cockroach high HP Tiger Udyr build, this is actually an extremely strong item, especially if you go Overgrowth Conditioning. I actually think this has a strong place in a lot of Tiger Udyr builds. No, I personally don't build it that often because I don't like the Bruiser builds. I prefer the one-shot builds, but it is still an incredibly strong item for the right type of Udyr player. Let's talk about Hubris. I'm just going to put bad idea. In fact, I'm just going to put don't build. I do not like this item. I think it is a win more item, which is a dangerous. It's like the Mejai's except for attack damage. Essentially, you snowball harder the more kills you get, if I remember correctly. Let's take a look at this item together, actually, just to make sure I'm putting my money. A lot of these items are new. But essentially, scoring a takedown grants you generate a permanent stack and grants you 15 bonus attack damage for a minute and a half, right? And it stacks, right? In my opinion, win more items are better on champions with gap closers that can proactively force fights. Tiger Udyr is a defensive, knock you on your butt. Think of him like a southpaw, like Floyd Mayweather. He's extremely defensive, and this item just does not reward Udyr's defensive playstyle. Hullbreaker is game reliant. Very strong item. I do not like this personally because I'm not a huge split pusher. However, if you need to split push, or alternatively, they have a lot of kite, this is a really good item. I'm kind of just going to leave it at that. We all know what Hullbreaker does. It's a split push item. It buffs you. It gives you a lot of movement speed. It's a really good item on Udyr, but it's a game reliant item. I'm not building this every game. Iceborne Gauntlet is a bad idea. In my opinion, if you want a Sheen item, just go Triforce. Tiger Udyr loves Triforce much better than Iceborne. It scales better. And if you need armor, please just go Deadman's or Death Dance. You got 2 armor items up here that are just a lot stronger than Iceborne Gauntlet at the moment. Shield Bow is a don't build. We don't need Shield Bow on Udyr. We've already got a giant shield in our kit. If we get low on health, we just press Awaken W and heal to full. It's not necessary. Like, yes, you can build it. Yes, it works. No, please don't build it often. Let's talk about Infinity Edge. I am so close to putting Infinity Edge in S tier right now, but it is not a build every game, so we're going to put it into Strong Flex instead. Right now, pretty much every single champion that can is rushing Infinity Edge second. It is insanely, insanely strong because we go Mortal Reminder third. If you go first item, usually I do Experimental Hexblade or Stride Breaker. Second item, Infinity Edge. Third item, Mortal Reminder. You will blow people up. We're in an ADC meta. We got to be able to one-shot ADCs. This item, genuinely, you should be building very often in the games where you are ahead. This is the item to build second, is Infinity Edge. I didn't think it was as strong as it was. It is super good. Please take my word on it there. Kraken Slayer. This is a fan favorite, so it really hurts because it's been nerfed into oblivion. I'm going to put it in bad idea. I'm going to put Kraken Slayer in bad idea. Yes, you can make builds around it. If you design an entire build around it, Kraken Slayer can work. If you do like a movement speed, Deadman's, Kraken Slayer, Stride Breaker, tons of movement speed build, it can work. I think it's a bad idea. I have tried this item so many times. It gets outperformed. Tiger Udyr wants raw attack damage. The movement speed's good. You can get more movement speed from a Deadman's, and you can get tankier. You get movement speed from Experimental Hexplate because it gives a 15% movement speed steroid every 30 seconds. You could go Hole Breaker, which I think is better than Kraken Slayer right now. I don't like Kraken Slayer. I think it's overrated. I'm just going to go ahead and say, please don't build it. Lord Doms, we're going to put as bad idea only because at point of making this video and patch, I think we're 14.17. Mortal Reminder is just a better item. This item only gives like 10 extra attack damage. You always need Armor Pin on Udyr, so this is it's not a don't build item, but it's a bad idea just because there's a better item in the game at the moment. Anyway, this is an interesting one. My top Udyr players, we're going to put it as a game reliant item. Okay? This is not a jungle, like if you're Udyr, this is a do not build item. If you're top Udyr, we're going to put it as game reliant. Against laners that you can snowball a lot into, laners that you need a lot of poke and a lot of mana, this is actually a pretty decent item. Maw is going into S tier this patch. I've played with a lot of games. Right now, the meta is ADCs and burst mages. Kind of it. That's it. ADCs, burst mages, crowd control junglers, and top laners. I know this sounds very like rudimentary, but this is just where we are at in the meta. I actually am building Maw more often than I am building Styrax. This thing gives 70 attack damage. Once again, Udyr scales extremely well with raw attack damage, and you get it much earlier in the game because Styrax you have to scale before the attack damage kicks in. We're going to put it at game reliant. We're going to put it at game reliant because I'm building Maw unless I need the QSS. So we'll put it as game reliant. It's not as good as Infinity Edge, but I'm really telling you, please consider this item in your builds. It is super good. Mortal Reminder is S tier core. You're looking at essentially these 5 items up here. I'm not building all 5 of these items every game. How I look at these 5 items is these are essentially like, you got to have 2 or 3 of these in your build if you're playing Tiger Udyr. It doesn't matter which 3, but you got to have 2 or 3 of these in your build somewhere. Usually you can go Flex Tank or Boots and all that good stuff. After that, Mortal Reminder is extremely good. It provides anti-healing, gives you 35% armor pin. We could get into the math, but essentially at level 14 and level 15, every single game, most ADCs have anywhere from 50 to 80 armor base, and if they build any sort of armor item like Death Stance or anything, they're going to have 100 plus. Building armor pin is required on Tiger Udyr, usually by your 3rd or 4th item, because instead of doing half damage to the enemy ADC, you want to be doing what's 50 minus 35%, 15% or 85% damage. You know what I mean? Profane Hydra. This is game reliant. I will build this item into Sona squishy champions like Soraka. If they've got like a rumble top, somebody extremely squishy that you can blow up. This is a game reliant item. This item, if you're wondering why everybody in the meta is building it, it's because it's better on gap closer champions that can naturally get on top of people. As Udyr, we like Stride Breaker better, which is why it's the better Tiamat item at the moment. This item is good. It's just not great on Udyr, Tiger Udyr specifically. All right, I think this is just the upgraded Manumane. I don't know which item is which, but Manumane, same deal. The Navori Quick Blades, I have tried this item a lot. It is better on other champions like Volibear. This is just a bad idea on Udyr. Not a huge fan of it, but of course, you can build it if you would like. The other item, of course, is Rapid Fire. Rapid Fire, please do not build this item. Riot has intentionally increased the Q auto attack range when you go into Q stance. Rapid Fire is just a bad item. Sure, you can do it on a meme build, just don't build it in my opinion. Ravenous Hydra, ladies and gentlemen, this is game reliant. If you're doing a cockroach build, full lifesteal Udyr, it is honestly not bad. It's game reliant. It just depends on what build you're going. I do not build this every game. I'm actually going to bump Ravenous Hydra down to bad idea. I think that the other Tiamat items, Profane Hydra is better, and I also think that Stridebreaker is better. Titanic Hydra is better. I think Ravenous Hydra personally is a bad idea. Just if you're going to spend 3,300 gold on a damage item, just get Triforce. Like, this is a raw damage item with lifesteal. It's just not as good, in my humble opinion. Move Serpent's Fang into a strong flex category. I'm building Serpent's Fang all the dang time. Right now, we are in an ADC meta. You know what ADCs are running? Barrier with heal and shield supports. So I really like this item, especially if the enemy team builds Eclipse or they've got champions like Tom, Kench, Mundo, Lee Sin. Anybody with actual shields, this is a must build at the moment. Spear of Shojin is game reliant. Okay, I really like Spear of Shojin. I think it is a really strong item on Tiger Udyr, especially with the experimental Hexplate build if you're going that. However, it is only good if you can auto attack a lot of champions and you can consistently like stay inside the fight and not leave. If you're doing like a Sterax build or something with a lot of beefiness, a lot of survivability, like if you do Dead Man's Maw, Experimental Hexplate, Shojin, that might work. This is game reliant. It depends entirely on the rest of the items in your build and whether or not you can auto attack the enemy champions. It's a strong item, but it is not a must build. Unfortunately, they have nerfed the item quite a bit, and it's just really not as good as it used to be. Static Shiv is a bad idea, but if you do want to have a laugh, take it into a normals game. It's not terrible, but it's not a good idea. Sterax is game reliant for me. How the sweet prince has been dethroned. Sterax used to be one of, if not the best items in the game for Tiger Udyr. It's game reliant. It's not core right now, in my humble opinion. You do not build this every game. It takes too long to scale. It's good against anti-burst. It's good when you need shields. It's good when you have fat health, but a lot of people are building anti-shield with Serpent's Fang. Renekton strong right now, who pops shields. Rel pops shields, who's pretty popular. So if they have any sort of like shield pop technology, Sterax is pretty bad usually. And I prefer Maw much over the Sterax. However, this is still a good item. It's just game reliant. If they've got a lot of CC or crowd control in particular, Sterax now gives 20% tenacity, which I don't think it used to do. So it's really good against crowd control heavy teams. Terminus is game reliant. No, I don't think this is a bad item. No, I don't think this is a good item. It's a game reliant item. This is an armor pin item and an attack speed item. If you're building on hit Udyr, specifically into melees, it's really good. I would build this over Kraken Slayer any day of the week. However, I do not think this is core. I don't think it's strong. It's just game reliant. If you need attack speed and armor pen, it's a good fix. So let's say you don't go any attack speed items and you just do like, I don't know, like let's say you go like Profane Hydra because they're squishy. You go Dead Man's and then you go Maw Malmortis and you didn't end up getting any attack speed and you need an armor pen item. Terminus would work there. It's just game reliant. It's not a build every game. Collector is pretty damn funny. I'm going to put it as bad idea because you shouldn't be building it on Udyr in my humble opinion, but it's pretty funny. Once again, Static Shiv treat it. Bad idea, but is a very fun item. If you want to take it into normals, you'll get a laugh or two. Titanic Hydra, I'm actually going to put as strong flex right now. I think, and we'll get into this in a second, we haven't seen Stridebreaker. I think Titanic Hydra and Stridebreaker are the two best Tiamat items. I think Titanic Hydra can be put in any sort of flex Tiger build right now, and you can make it work. The auto attack reset is incredible. Specifically, Hail of Blades. If you don't know, if you have an auto attack reset, your Hail of Blades gets an extended duration, so you can auto attack 4 times. So Hail of Blades Titanic Hydra builds are very much a thing. You should try them. There's a lot of Korean Udyrs that do it. I think this is genuinely a very, very strong item right now. I'm not building it, but it doesn't mean you can't make a build with it that works. There are Udyr players in the high elo that do it. Stride Breaker is actually going to go into the S tier core category for me. Once again, how this core category works, it doesn't mean you need to be building these items every game, but you should pick 2 or 3 of these and put these in your build every single game. Stride Breaker, if they've got a lot of kiting like Hecarim and Lilia, it's just a fantastic item. It gives 450 health, sticking power, 55 attack damage. Cannot recommend this item enough. I think it is not a build every game item, but I think it is very much a you should build it into 90% of team comps because it's just that good at the moment. It definitely needs a nerf. Let's talk about Sundered Sky. Sundered Sky, in my opinion, bad idea. I think this item gets outperformed on Tiger Udyr builds. It's only good if, like, the enemy team is full melee, fights are taking forever, and you went Conqueror on Tiger Udyr, right? Those are the only times I like Sundered Sky. It's better in other champions. Other items, literally, let the enemy team build Sundered Sky. If you build an Infinity Edge instead, you're going to one-shot the guy that built Sundered Sky. I think it's a trap. I don't think it heals enough. It doesn't give enough health. Bad idea, in my humble opinion. Triforce, oh man, I love Triforce. If you guys know, my bread and butter from back in the day were Triforce builds. Triforce is actually a game-reliant item right now. I am not building it very often, I'm going to be honest. I only build it if I've got 6 grubs, I need to split push, and I also know that I can stick to the enemy team comp, and they don't have much peel. Those are the only games I'm building Triforce. Like, if they have no crowd control, I've got 6 grubs, and I'm starting to snowball. Those are the only games I'll build Triforce now, because it's so expensive. Other items outperform it, and frankly, it just has to do with the Udyr rework, okay? Udyr is not a site, like, if you stand there and auto-attack as Udyr, you'll die. You're a burst champion relying on your awakening now, which is why it's better to just build raw attack damage, burst damage, and get your awakening on cooldown. I would rather have Experimental Hexplate, which is 300 gold cheaper in my builds, than a Triforce at the moment, which is sad. They need to take a look at the item and change it. This is Umbra Glaive, I remember. Let's take a look at what this item... I've built this item 2 or 3 times in, like, normals. I don't like it. You disable surrounding wards and expose. It's like the Pike item, so essentially you just disable wards. This is a do not build item for me. It's just... let the support build it. Not good. Are there any others in here that need a notable mention? Voltaic Sword is a don't build. Sounds good. If you guys want to read what it does, go to the wiki, but I've tried it a ton. It doesn't work on Udyr as well as you'd think. I'm just not going to waste much time here. Wit's End is a bad idea. I'm sorry, guys. Wit's End, unfortunately, is getting the bad idea treatment. It is one of those items that, how do I put it? It doesn't give raw attack damage. It only, if you don't know, they removed the attack damage components. It just gives attack speed and on-hit damage, a little bit of tenacity and magic resist. In my opinion, if you need tenacity, go Merc Treads, and if you need magic resist, go Maw with 70 attack damage. No attack damage, Maw gives 70 attack damage. That is a huge difference considering your Q scales off every 100 attack damage, so you're going to need at least 2 Maws for it to kick in. If you're going a 0 attack damage item in your build, the rest of your items better be heavy AD, otherwise you are not killing anything. For me, it is a bad idea item. Unfortunately, I love it. It's just a bad idea at the moment. Youmuu's. I'm actually going to put Youmuu's into the game reliant category. Youmuu's is great when you're smurfing. They don't have much CC, or you want to play for like that relentless hunter, like early game gank play style. It is a game reliant item. It's not a strong item, and it's not a build every game item. It's just game reliant. Have fun with the item though. Don't be afraid to build it. You can build it. I still build it into certain blowout games. I just think that on Udyr you need health, cooldown, and raw attack damage. This only fills 1 out of 3 of those. And the movement speed, in my opinion, you have better movement speed options. Stride Breaker, Dead Man's, Hole Breaker. I'd rather have those for the movement speed. Experimental Hexplate is a 15% movement speed steroid. It's just not as good as I think people think it is. And then outside of that, Zeke's Convergence is a don't build. It's not as good as you think it is. Hecarim uses it better because he's got an actual ultimate. Unlike us, we've got Lightning Q. All right, people. So this is the final tier. If y'all want to screenshot this, I know usually with these tier graphs, this is usually what people tend to do is they skip to the end of the video. But this is the tier graph. Once again, you should be picking 2 or 3 of these items and putting them in every single build. You're going to put boots, and then in my opinion, you can flex in anything in this category, and you're not going to have much fear or risk of losing the game. And then game reliant, you're going to have to use your brain. These are good items, but only in the games that demand it. And then, of course, these items down here, I would not recommend. You can have fun with them, but I would not recommend them. In different flavors of bad idea to just straight, please don't build these items. They're really bad. So that's the Tiger Udyr build. Now I'm going to make a separate very quick. We're not going to go into a whole lot of details, but I'm very quickly going to pull up a tier graph, make a quick graph about the itemization order. And then after that, hopefully you guys can just quickly reference this video anytime you need to look up what to build against too. Wow, I realized I missed a few of these items here. So let's add in Blade of the Ruined King. Blade of the Ruined King, I'm going to put it bad idea. A lot of people love Blade of the Ruined King. It's not even game reliant for me. Udyr's Q has percent HP damage built into it. I try and explain this to people. Your Q already does, at the end of the game, like 20% max health per auto attack, right? So your cycle is QQ, Lightning Q, Lightning Q. That's 80% max HP damage. You really don't need Blade of the Ruined King, in my opinion, in your builds. However, if you do want to build it against like a bunch of melees, it's a fun item. It's still a bad idea. Build armor pen and raw attack damage. I promise you will do more damage. Go into a practice tool and take a look. Even against high health targets, yes, your DPS is going to look similar, but in real games, you never sit there and auto attack them. They're going to be kiting you. You get one burst cycle, and it's better to just build raw attack damage there. Guardian Angel is game reliant. I actually don't like Guardian Angel personally, but it is game reliant. It's not a bad item. It's not a good item. It's just game reliant. If you want it, go for it. It's the most game reliant thing I think that's out there because, of course, when it's on cooldown, it's awful. But when it's on cooldown, it's extremely useful. Phantom Dancer, I would put it at game reliant. I'm going to put it at bad idea, though, because you shouldn't be building Phantom Dancer. I don't want to encourage people to build this item. It is a bad idea to build Phantom Dancer, but you can build, like, Phase Rush. You can do the Garen build with, like, Stride Breaker, Phase Rush, Phantom Dancer, and it's pretty funny. It's very similar to Static Shiv and Collector. Yes, you can still build these items. No, they are not good. Shirelia's Grudge is, I'm putting it at don't build. Honestly, I do not want to encourage people to build this item on Tiger Udyr. We've already got slows in our kit. We've already got bear stuns. We need either anti-healing or alternatively Black Cleaver for armor shred for the rest of our teammates. Shirelia's Grudge, in my opinion, is the worst, the worst armor pen item at the moment. Would not recommend you guys to build it on literally anything. Outside of that, I think that's all of the items. If you guys quickly want like a if you have to build tank, I'm going to put all tank items on Tiger as bad idea. You should be really trying to build attack damage on every single item. But if you're going to build armor items, these are going to be the best items you can go. Randuins, if they've got a lot of crit. Unending Despair is pretty funny if you want just a little bit more sticking power and survivability. But that's the full build, and let's jump into the final segment now, as promised. All right, everybody. I went ahead and put together a little tier list here of all the jungle champions. We've got 5 categories. There's no rhyme or reason to the color pattern or anything, but in the top left, we've got Stride Breaker into Deadman's into Mortal Reminder. Think about this as your defensive option of all the 5. We'll go through each of these builds here in a second. But of the 5 builds we've got here, this is essentially when I'm playing on my back foot, when I'm just trying to like play a little bit more defensive instead of proactive, the type of champions that tend to punish me the most, or the champs that go invisible, or the champs that have really strong early games, and I kind of just need to negate it. These champions include Gragas, Graves, Kha'Zix, Kindred, Lilia, Nocturne. Champions like this Going Stride Breaker allows you to get the giant AoE circle to where you can kite them and slow them, and you can bear stun them and drop Awaken R. But if you rush Deadman second, it also gives you more movement speed, more health. You get enough baseline armor to where lethality can't kill you anymore, and you, of course, also get slow resistance. So certain champions like Gragas are impossible to fight until you get some slow resistance, and this is why we put, those champions in the same tier as, like, let's say, Pantheon, right? Pantheon's pretty easy for Udyr to 1v1, but I'm still building Stride Breaker Deadmans into him, just because he has such a strong early game that I've got to be able to just survive the burst, and then we're good to go. Next category down, we've got my personal favorite build, which is actually Experimental Hexblade into Infinity Edge into Mortal Reminder. These are like the 3 highest damage items I think you can go on Tiger Udyr in terms of scaling, performance early, mid, and late game, and overall one-shot capability. I usually go this build into champions that do not have any ways to actually peel themselves out of gimmicks. So, like, think of Hecarim. Hecarim's super fast, and he's got an ultimate, but if he gets out of position as Udyr, you just bear stun and kill him instantly. Same with Kayn. Same with Yi. Same with Nidalee. Same with Olaf, who's trying to fight you with his ultimate. He just stands still and lets you auto-attack him. Viego tends to dash in and die. Vi only gets 1 ultimate and then tends to die. Teemo gets 1 blind and then he gets blown up, right? So against these champions that essentially are very easy to punish once they get out of the early to mid game, once they mess up their survivability ability, then you just instantly kill them. You want to go a one-shot build, so that is the build into those type of champions. This next rung down, this is going to be my power farms build. So whenever I'm playing against heavy farm champions or champions that I know that I can just naturally farm faster, and if I farm 4 times in a row, 4 clears in a row, I'm going to be a full jungle clear ahead. These are the type of champions I go my farm build, which is Stride Breaker. So we get the Tiamat item and the Tiamat procs, right? The cleave effect. You go Experimental Hexplate second, so you get a ton of awakenings. And then third item, you go Mortal Reminder just to get the armor pin, so you blow up anybody at that point in the game. These type of champions are like Amumu, Diana, Gwen, Karthus, Shyvana is a power farmer, Skarner, Trundle, Warwick, Volibear. All of these junglers cannot farm faster than Udyr. And the only way they do win is if they somehow start farming quicker than you or punish bad pathing. So my game plan against these champions is get 2 power farming items, farm as fast as freaking possible. I want to be 2.5 items by the Baron fight, and I want to be 2 levels ahead of the enemy jungler. Next row down, this is my AP build. Udyr dies to a lot of magic damage champions. It's just the way magic damage champions play. They're kitey, they're bursty. Udyr does not like that. Usually into these teams, I go Stride Breaker into Maw of Malmortis into Deadmans. You become extremely annoying for any AP champion to deal with. So if you're against like a Brand or a Rumble, for instance, if you do Maw second into Deadmans, they will hate their life because you're going to have the sticking power of Stride Breaker, the Maw to prevent them from killing you quick enough, and a Deadmans to make it to where you can deal with the kite at that point. So against champions like Elise, Evelynn, Fiddlesticks, Morgana, Nunu, Talia, champions that are very obnoxious in the early game. For Tiger Udyr, once you get these 3 this setup, these 3 items, you're usually good to go, and you just flip the cards. You flip the table it's in terms of who wins the matchup, so to speak. Final item or final build, this is my anti-shield, anti-healing build. I tend to do this a lot at high elo especially because Tiger Udyr, one thing we do extremely well is we can single target burst down champions. So champions with a lot of healing and a lot of shields, guess who is the perfect champion to burst through that? Somebody with Serpent's Fang and Mortal Reminder like Tiger Udyr. So I tend to do Experimental Hexplate into Serpent's Fang into Mortal Reminder is my preferred build. If I plan on going Serpent's Fang, this is great against champions like Ivern, Jarvan, who builds Eclipse and also gets a big shield. Same with Lee Sin. Lee Sin has a shield in his kit, and he goes Eclipse, and he has lifesteal built in. Tarek, Silas, Shen, Mundo, Nautilus, Rel, champions like this, I heavily consider just rushing Serpent's Fang second, building Mortal Reminder third, and then going from there. That way I've got anti-healing, anti-shields, and a big Experimental Hexplate to mean I can just cycle out a bunch of lightning Qs and burst whoever's out of position. So this is my jungle tier graph. Obviously, everything is team comp reliant. You can't just look at the enemy jungler and say, but in general, this is my game plan against these junglers. If I see them on the enemy team, if I see Xin Zhao, I know based off this tier graph, my general game plan is literally, I'm like, all right, let me out farm this guy. I'm going to go Stridebreaker, Hexplate, into Mortal Reminder. That's a fantastic 3-item combo, and it's a power farm combo. If I'm against the Lilia, I got to play on my back foot, so we're doing Stridebreaker, Deadman's, or Force of Nature. By the way, you don't have to do Deadman's. You can substitute that for Warmogs or Force of Nature. But I know I'm going a movement speed tank item second into Mortal Reminder third, so I have enough damage to kill her. If I don't go Mortal Reminder third, she'll just outscale me, and I will never be able to kill her. So this is the build. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you want to see me play live and make these decisions in real time, make sure to head over to twitch.tv/WilliefknP. I stream every day. I don't make YouTubes every day. Other than that, thank you guys for being here. Life is good. We just turned 26 last week, so we had a little birthday and went to Dollywood to celebrate. So life is good. Just been super busy. We're currently trying to push to the highest AD ranked Udyr in the world. We're about 100 LP masters. I fell back a little bit. But I want to get to 500 LP. The ranks reset, if you guys don't know, on 17th of September. So on the 17th of September, the split ends. I would like to be 500 LP Grandmasters, so that way I can say I was definitively the highest ranked on the server and arguably one of the highest ranked in the world for AD Udyr, because, hey, I just like playing AD Udyr. I'm a psychopath, all right? Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. And if you've got any videos, questions, video suggestions, questions, anything like that, make sure to leave them in the comments. Bye.
Dang. Call me so I can make it juicy for ya.